Good evening, everybody. Welcome to OGL, Old Guy Lifts. Paulie here. Next video is up, and you see the thumbnail. Stress is good. How to grow. And what this is all about is using the weights as a tool by controlling and applying a physical stress to your body, which of course is the mechanism to force an adaptation and growth. And that's the point of the endeavor, right? That's why we go to the gym. That's why we load barbells up and lift them up and push them away from us and pull them towards us and put them on our backs and sit down with them. Everything that we do is done under load, one way or another. Even running on a treadmill, we're using gravity, the force of gravity. Riding a bike, same thing. There's resistance. There's something that you're fighting against. And that stress creates a response, which is an adaptation to that stress. So manipulating stress is the mechanism for growth. So in that sense, stress is good. So we're not talking about the uncontrolled stress of work and a work environment you kind of have to go to, or raising kids, or in a relationship, which actually you have a great deal of control over those things as well. But there's other people involved that are less predictable than an inanimate object like a weight or a barbell. So the weights and exercises are tools. And after doing this on and off for over 3 decades, probably working out about half that time, is that the simplest approach seems to be the best, especially the older you get. Keep it simple. Use your compound movements. So what are compound movements? Compound movements, you see the workout that I'm doing here. I always start with the squat. I think it might be the single most important movement that I do. So I put a lot of weight in that, a lot of stock in that, pardon the pun. And it's a full body movement. But notice, ankles are bending, hips bending, knees bending. Really a 3-joint move. Really 2 main joints, the knee and the hip, but the ankle does bend as well. But the prime movers, the glutes, the abductors, the quads a little bit, not as much as I actually once thought for this exercise. And it hits the lower back, it hits the upper back, keeping tightness. Think of how the load is applied. The load is across the backs of your shoulders if you do a low bar squat, or right on your traps if you're doing a high bar squat, to the soles of your feet. So everything in between, theoretically, should be tight as possible in order to transfer the force from the floor to the bar. So gravity is pulling that weight down. It's your contracted muscle fibers that are fighting against that and pushing the weight away from the floor back up to its starting position. So there's a lot going on there for something that may even kind of look like a simple movement, but there's a lot going on, and there's a fair amount of technique involved with this movement. So we'll do future videos on moderate technique. There are plenty of experts online to show you their version of how to find your foot spacing or what have you, and I'm certainly going to do mine. So research that, put some time into it. It's an important thing, and this is an exercise that you want to get good at controlling. And then of course notice the way the reps are done, regardless of the load, whether it's light or heavy. It's really controlled. Sometimes I want to do them faster than others, depending on, again, what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stimulate my muscles and my joints to some extent. So speed has its place in force production. But generally you want to do a controlled rep. Lower the weight under control. If you're going to explode anyway, it's going to be on the concentric portion of the lift, or in this case, standing back up. Yeah, those are pretty good reps. But look at everything. the glutes, strongest muscles in the body. Hamstrings get hit a little bit, inner thigh, the abductors, quads, calves. Your low back and abs are keeping the core tight so you don't accordion and collapse under the weight. So I think this is the most important thing to do. And that's going to activate the most muscle. So for as fat as I am, as overweight as I am, it's got to be about 40, 50 pounds overweight. And again, I'm going to pair this off, and you guys will see that as part of the journey. I think it's time to get a little bit healthier than I have been. I still have a fair amount of muscle mass, and I think this is the main reason why this movement, done with a pretty reasonable load, and done with the intervals that I do it in. So that's the squat. I like these full body movements, and in fact, I generally do. I will alternate between two different kinds of workouts: a full body workout and a more conjugate style workout. Conjugate style workout is where you use different levels of intensity and loading to manipulate the stress and the adaptive response for your body, whereas the full body workout tends to be more consistent. Biomechanically, everything is similar day to day, but you get more consistency. So when I'm doing a full body, I'll do 3 very similar workouts, 3 to 3.5, 3 to 4, I should say. Sometimes I'll get an every other day pace where, regardless of the day of the week, I just do it every other day. So that's 3.5, 7 workouts in 14 days. And I'll do a squat, which I'll always start with, and then some sort of horizontal press. Floor press is my favorite because of my wonky shoulders. Sometimes I'll do a straight on bench press, reverse grip bench press. I love that too. Opens up the AC joint a lot, which is where my arthritis is. Sometimes if I'm doing conjugate, sometimes I will add some very intense, like a reverse band bench press. But when I'm doing the full body movements, it's generally 3 movements, always the squat, and then a horizontal press, and usually a vertical pull, like just a straight pull-up. Actually, I can't do many pull-ups, so I use bands, so I can get sets of 6 instead of doing sets of 2 with my body weight. So when I pair off, the lighter I get, the less band weight that I need, because I'm pulling less body weight. So, and that's it. So the full body workout is generally 3 movements, and I didn't do any isolation work. At this point, 54 years old, it's not about having biceps be a half an inch bigger than they are now, and I get plenty of stimulation by changing the grip on the pull-ups. Sometimes I'll do a chin-up, which is where you supinate the hands, sort of, instead of the hands over grip, the hands under grip. And sometimes I'll do a parallel grip, neutral grip pull-up where they're facing each other, and that'll hit the biceps pretty hard as well, that underhand grip and that neutral grip. So don't discount those. And that's it for the full body. And the conjugate tends to be less frequent but more intense. So that's the trade-off. You lose some of the consistency and you up the intensity. And I'll kind of wave those two together over the course of time. So I'll do full body, for months. I'll do it for 3 months, say. I'll do a conjugate. Do a conjugate a little bit less, a little bit too intense. And I'm not a power lifter. I'm not out here to set records, even though I fantasized about that decades ago. So it's really those 2 styles of working out. And I don't really do more than 8 or 10 movements, period, ever, total. And I don't think you need to if your goal is health, power, strength, a little bit of muscle mass, but strength and longevity, so, which is, again, my stated goal. And you can, if you stick to it, the key is not a fancy workout. The key is not reading a magazine, a powerlifting magazine, or a muscle building magazine, or a bodybuilding magazine, and following somebody's workout of the million sets of this and the million sets of that. It's just, unless you're doing all the steroids and you have the goal of shortening your life by half to achieve a level of muscularity that's simply unnatural, you're barking up the wrong tree. You're just beating a dead horse there. So if you have a realistic goal of maintaining health and strength for a longer period of time and having a very broad quality of life, these are the kind of workouts that will get you there as long as you do them. And we'll talk about progressive overload pretty soon in the next video or two. But you just got to get in there and pick a simple workout and do it, and the strength will come. And especially if you're a beginner, if you haven't been to the gym for a long time, or really ever, it just hasn't been your jam, and you're at a point in life where you just want to improve the way that you feel, keep it simple. Squats, some kind of deadlift maybe, although I don't think they're as important as I once did. Vertical pushing, vertical pulling, horizontal pushing, horizontal pulling, and that's about, those five. You're hitting those 5 planes, maybe 6 with the deadlifting. So you have a push from the floor on the squat, a pull from the floor on the deadlift, and then a horizontal push and pull and a vertical push and pull. Man, that's about, you're gonna hit your abs, you're gonna hit your glutes, you're gonna hit every muscle between the top of your head and the bottom of your feet. And that's, if you construct your own workout, picking out exercises that again fit your morphology, and if you have any injuries or any physical limitations, you have to address that. You have to talk to a doctor. Maybe you need to get some imaging work done to see how your joints look, and get some true medical advice. I always recommend that, especially if you've never worked out before and you're hooking around 30, especially if you're over 40. It's just a smart thing to do. So what are we doing here? We've done our squats. I guess, this looks like, so that's 255 with a floor press. And again, love, I do a ton of floor pressing, not in any one, workout. But I mean, overall, I do more floor pressing than any other horizontal pressing. It really hits the same muscles as the bench press. It looks very similar. The limited range of motion because the back of the elbows hit the floor, do limit the range of motion. But look where it stops on me. I love where it stops. It's about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches above where the barbell would go if I were on a bench press. And that's almost right at my sticking point. My sticking point may even be a little bit higher than that. I've always been able to kind of initiate the hard push off my chest, but then I would fail right after that. This really hits that. So I've noticed that when my floor press goes up, my bench really goes up too. The carryover and the overlap is tremendous. So for those that have a little bit of competitive spirit in them, and they want to see a power lift or a bench press go up, this will certainly do that. But again, if you have wonky shoulders, and now I do use a fairly narrow grip on this. I'm well inside the rings, at least 1 inch inside the rings. So I wanted to become more of a tricep bencher, although I still feel this really hits my chest, especially by stopping it where it does. It's your chest that kind of gets that moving. Chest, front delts, really the same muscles as the bench press. But I used to bench with a much wider grip, and I think that may have contributed, and certainly my sloppy technique contributed to this arthritis that I have. So, what am I getting? I think this might be the last set, and I think this workout might be over. And then I think I do some pull-ups after this. I'm not even so sure I show this. I don't think I do show those. So, yeah, this video is long enough. So that's it. Look at this. 2-3 movements. You don't see the pull-ups. And that's all it takes, folks. Consistency, effort, dedication. Keep it simple. Keep it moving. And get in there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and do your thing. All right, gang. Subscribe. Like the video if you like what you saw. Always nice and honored to have you all hanging out with me for a little bit. 10 or 12 minutes every other day, whatever it is. So I thank you very much, and I will see you next time.